In the year 2000, a man flew to Dallas to sell his small money-losing company. He asked for $50 million. On the other side of the table sat the biggest empire in home entertainment. 9,000 stores, 84,000 employees, 60 million customers. To grasp the scale, 1 in 3 American households had a Blockbuster card. They listened and they laughed. The company they turned down is now called Netflix, and it's worth over $200 billion. The one that laughed went bankrupt. This is the story of how Blockbuster destroyed itself. And here's the part almost no one tells well. Blockbuster didn't die because it was blind. It came close to saving itself. What killed it comes down to 2 things: a trap that made it rich, and an internal war at the worst possible moment. To understand the fall, you have to see how big it got. Blockbuster was born in 1985 in Dallas. David Cook opened a movie rental store unlike any other. Huge, organized, family-friendly, with thousands of titles. It grew so fast that in 1994, Viacom bought it for $8.4 billion. It was the undisputed queen of home entertainment. At its peak in 2004, Blockbuster had 9,094 stores worldwide, made $6 billion a year, and served 60 million customers. Every store was nearly identical: blue carpet, packed shelves, the smell of popcorn at the door. Blockbuster had industrialized the ritual of movie night at home. The ritual was cultural. On Friday you'd go, walk the aisles, fight over the last copy of the new release. Blockbuster didn't sell movies, it sold Friday night. It had so much power that Hollywood studios negotiated with it almost on their knees. And that power, over time, turned into arrogance. But inside that perfect business, there was a crack. And that crack, ironically, was where much of the money came from. Because Blockbuster's real business wasn't renting movies. It was charging you to bring them back late. In the year 2000, Blockbuster made $800 million in late fees alone, 16% of all its revenue. 1 of every $6 came from punishing its own customer. Late fees were so hated, they became a national joke. But to Blockbuster, they were sacred. They paid the lights for 9,000 stores. And it wasn't just Hastings. Millions hated reaching the counter and finding a surprise charge. Blockbuster had built an empire on the resentment of its own people. Everyone hated those fees. And that was the trap. Blockbuster couldn't imagine a world without them because that world cost $800 million a year. And the story goes that a customer named Reed Hastings got a $40 late fee for returning Apollo 13 late. Furious, he thought, what if this worked like a gym? No fees and no due dates. That idea became Netflix. Meanwhile, in California, in 1997, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph had founded something strange, a company that mailed you DVDs. No store, no due date, no late fees. It was called Netflix. By the year 2000, it was losing money, with just 300,000 subscribers. So they flew to Dallas and offered to sell for $50 million. The CEO, John Antioco, saw it as a niche business. He said no. Antioco had his reasons. Netflix was losing money, the dot-com bubble had just burst, and no one returned movies by mail at scale. On paper, saying no seemed like the sensible move. Netflix wasn't suddenly smarter, it was simply willing to lose money today to own tomorrow, the exact bet Blockbuster refused to make. And here's the twist almost no one knows. A few years later, Blockbuster did react, and it almost worked. In 2004, Antioco made 2 bold bets. First, he killed late fees. Second, he launched Total Access, rental online and by mail, with an edge Netflix would never have. You could return the DVD at a physical store. The change cost a fortune. Killing late fees and building mail delivery cut hundreds of millions from profit every year. It was a huge bet on the future. It was working. Blockbuster was adding subscribers faster than Netflix. For a moment, the giant was waking up, but killing late fees and building the online business cost hundreds of millions. And Wall Street didn't like watching profits fall. By 2007, Total Access already had millions of subscribers. Several analysts believed Blockbuster could finally catch Netflix. Then came an investor famous for destroying executives, Carl Icahn. In 2005, he launched a war for control of the board. The fight ended with Antiocho's bonus cut, and in 2007, with Antiocho gone. Icahn owned a huge slice of the company, and he hated watching money spent on digital. To him, today's profits mattered more than tomorrow's future. Blockbuster's mistake has a name in business schools. It optimized for the present while the future quietly arrived. His replacement cut the investment in total access to fix the profits. Right when the transformation was starting to win, they cut off its oxygen. Blockbuster bet on stores again, on the past. In 2007, Netflix did the unthinkable. It bet everything on streaming. No more DVDs by mail, movies instantly. And Blockbuster once again was too late. Now, with no money, no stable leadership, and thousands of stores that were no longer an asset, but an anchor. And the irony is brutal. Blockbuster taught a whole generation to watch movies at home. Netflix just removed the one friction Blockbuster depended on. While Netflix only needed servers, Blockbuster carried thousands of locations, leases, inventory, and employees. What years earlier had been its strength was now a stone tied around its neck. By 2010, Netflix already had 20 million subscribers watching by streaming. Blockbuster was only beginning to understand that its stores had stopped mattering. The fall was fast. On September 23, 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy with $900 million in debt. The stores went dark one by one. In 2011, Dish Network bought the remains for $320 million. And one by one, the stores kept closing until 2014. Today, of those 9,000, just one remains. In Bend, Oregon, kept by a family as a museum of an era. Netflix, the company they could have bought for $50 million, is worth over $200 billion. Today, that last store in Bend sells T-shirts to tourists who come to take a photo with a ghost. A reminder of how fast an empire can fall. It's what experts call the innovator's dilemma. A company can't destroy the business that makes it rich to embrace the one that would save it. Almost none manage to. Every empire believes it's too big to fall. Blockbuster had 9,000 stores and 60 million customers, and it still vanished in a single decade. The lesson of Blockbuster isn't that they failed to see the future. They saw it. They tried. They died defending the model that made them rich, and from an internal war that stopped them at the worst moment. The real killer of empires is almost never the new rival. It's the inability to let go of what made you great. If you want to see another empire that destroyed itself with its own bet, the Quibi story will blow your mind. I'll leave it right here. And subscribe. I cover a company like this every week.